Rick on YouTube asks, are the two witnesses, he says, the two olive trees, Christians and Jews, or are they actual people? And in Romans, Paul calls the church the wild olive tree. So what would you tell Rick?
Right.
And for people that don't know, what is he talking about?
Well, it's out of there are two passages that Rick is dealing with there. One is in Revelation chapter 11, but Revelation chapter 11 is quoting or actually referring to Zechariah. And in Zechariah chapter 4, it talks about this vision that Zechariah is given, and it's a vision of a couple of olive trees. Let me find it here. Here it is in Zechariah 4 verse 2. An angel wakes up Zechariah and he says to him, "What do you see?" So I said, "I'm looking, and there's a lampstand of solid gold with a bowl on top of it, and on the stand 7 lamps with 7 pipes to the 7 lamps. 2 olive trees are by it, one at the right of the bowl and the other at its left." So I answered and spoke to the angel who talked with me, saying, "What are these, my Lord?" And he said, "Do you not know what these are?" And he says, "No." And then he says, "This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Who are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel you shall become a plain, and he shall bring forth a capstone with shouts of grace, grace to it." The capstone being a reference to rebuilding the temple. It goes on and says, "The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this temple. His hands shall finish it. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you." And it goes on. Verse 11, it says, "Then I answered and said to him, what are these 2 olive trees at the right of the lampstand and at its left? And I further answered and said to him, what are these 2 olive branches that drip into the receptacles? And he answered me and said, do you not know what these are? And I said, no, my Lord, these are the 2 anointed ones who stand beside the Lord of the whole earth." And so when you're looking at the vision itself in the very beginning, it lets you know that it's talking about 2 people. 2 people. Most commentators would say that you're talking about Joshua and Zerubbabel. Joshua is the high priest in chapter 3. There's Joshua and Zerubbabel in this passage, and they're being pictured as these olive branches, and so, or these olive trees. And so in the original prophecy, it lets you know that it's people there. I don't know necessarily, it's pretty vague in that passage when he says that these are the 2 who stand before the Lord of the whole earth. I don't know for sure that would be Zerubbabel and Joshua, and that's a decent interpretation. But when you get to the book of Revelation in chapter 11, it's pretty clear that you're talking about 2 people again. And so in the original vision, the angel lets us know that we're talking about 2 people. And then when you go through Revelation chapter 11, it looks like it's exactly the same. It says in verse 3, "I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth." And then he says, "These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands standing before the God of the earth. And if anyone wants to harm them," it goes on in the passage. And one of the things that you're probably running into is you're running into commentaries that try to take this and allegorize it and make it the church and that kind of thing. In the passage in Revelation chapter 11, in Romans chapter 11, in that passage, what you're talking about, Paul's using an example out of horticulture to show that God is able to take 2 groups of people and make them one. And so in the example of horticulture, this is something that people who are into orchards, that kind of thing, know. It's a pretty common thing. When you take a root, many times the roots of some of the trees that we have for fruit trees, they have a tendency to get diseases. And so what they'll do is they'll take another type of tree and use the root stock from that tree, and they'll graft a fruit tree into it. And so your root stock is different than the fruit tree that's actually grafted into it. Well, that's something that you can do with olive trees also. And so these guys would have known that in horticulture during the day. And so Israel is pictured as the original olive tree. in Revelation chapter 11, and Israel is pictured as being cut off from the olive tree, and you still have the root and the bowl. There's still an opportunity for that tree to grow, but then a wild olive branch is grafted in, and that's the Gentile church, or the Gentile people are grafted in to the root and stock, which would be Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all those guys, root and stock. And he makes the point that later on in the passage that the nation Israel can be grafted in again too. So two different passages in the Bible, and two different illustrations that are being used there. And so I wouldn't take Romans chapter 11 and tie it in with Zechariah chapter 4. So,
All right, thanks for posting, Rick.
it's a good question though.
Yeah, easy to
Yeah.
conflate that.